Hello everyone, welcome to a special episode of Kryptonized. We're going to do a 3, 4, 5-part series as long as it takes to explain what the next generation of crypto looks like. And we all know how bad crypto looks right now, and we're in December 2022. But I have great hopes because I see what is coming and I know what's possible. So I want to kind of outline what I see so that you can get ahead of the game and you can be properly invested. So what is this? What's going to happen to change all of crypto? Well, I want you to just wipe clean most of crypto, except for maybe the top 10 tokens, which are basically utility tokens, but they offer real utility and real value. Now, there are some outside the top 10, so don't send me, your list. But I want to talk about next generation. These are next generation NFTs and tokens that you can use right now that my company, Smart Blocks, already does. So let's jump into it. What are they? Well, these are next generation tokens. No more bullshit. These will have real value and we'll have real analysts kind of analyzing them to give you an idea of their value. So let's start with some of my favorites, and those are security tokens. These are tokens backed by equity, backed by real estate, backed by real assets in the real world. None of this pie in the sky Dogecoin or some of those other tokens that were just basically pyramid schemes, and we all know which those are. So there are 3 types of security tokens. The first one is an equity token, and this could be represented by shares of a real company on the blockchain. So for an example, there's a lot of countries around the world that can't trade in US stocks. Well, what if you securitize them, turn them into synthetics, or securitize them in other ways so that now anyone in the world can invest in US stocks through this type of vehicle? Or it could just be a private company that securitized their equity within their organization, that they can now unlock some of that value and sell it through a security token out in an open marketplace. So those are equity tokens. Second are debt tokens, and these are debt instruments that can be securitized and sold on an open market. And we'll get into how that works with smart contracts in a little while. But imagine a mortgage that was broken down, securitized, and then given out as tokens to 100 people, and they would benefit when that loan's paid back. Then you have real asset tokens, and I've done a lot of this through previous companies that I've worked with, and these are taking real world assets like gold, like we've done Mike Tyson boxing gloves, like just about anything you can think of value, put it on the blockchain, represent it by an NFT, even a token, and you can trade that around. A little more difficult to do something like that unless it's something really valuable, like a painting. That's anything I'd say over $50,000. At this point, I probably wouldn't mess with. If you really want to get into a big game, of course, you could do 1,000 NFTs of a project worth more than $50,000. That would probably be worth it. But remember, it's going to be backed by something real, not an NFT that's a JPEG or a video that you're just trading around and everyone else can take it and trade around. I've never been a fan of NFT, what I call Gen 1, but I am a fan of Gen 2, and this is a part of it. Securitized NFTs or tokens. Okay, so those are the top 3: equity tokens, debt tokens, and real world asset tokens or NFTs that consist of one part of Generation 2, which is security tokens. So let's talk about the benefits of these security tokens. Why do I care? Why should you care? Why is this Gen 2? Well, first of all, security tokens are backed by real assets. So the benefit to you, the user, is it's not pie in the sky. I'm not hoping this utility token is going to go up into value because more people are getting in it. It's backed by something real. And if it's backed by real estate and the real estate goes up, or the rents are trickling in or coming in full force, you benefit from that. because it's coming from a real income source. There's real value there. Why, if you want to securitize or tokenize your real estate project, would you? Well, a lot of different reasons. Lower barrier to entry. Do you know how difficult it is to set up a REIT or to take your building public? Very difficult if you tried. You don't want to do that. You want to tokenize that building. You want to securitize it. You want to fractionalize the ownership of it and put it out to the masses and allow that liquidity or that lack of liquidity to be liquid. Another great benefit is the fact that you can put smart contracts. And if you don't know what a smart contract is, that's just a set of rules that you're putting on the blockchain that says, if this, then this. So if you want to get voting rights, or if you wanted a building with a smart contract that collects rents automatically, you could do that. So that's another benefit, that you can automate quite a few things, and then you can give away things as well if you're creative enough to come up with something cool, and I'd love to hear about it if you do. Obviously, lower transaction costs. It's very simple to kind of trade a tokenized real estate asset or some of the other assets, the real world assets that I was talking about before. It's simple. It's as simple as trading a stock. As long as you have that in your wallet, somebody else has it in your wallet, you can do peer-to-peer exchange, or you can go through another exchange or another marketplace. Very simple to do once it's set up. Another benefit is anyone in the world can buy it. So now if you're in a small market, let's say you have something in Portland, Oregon, or Eugene, Oregon, and you want to tokenize that, let's use real estate again, then once you put it out there, anyone in the world can buy it, even if they're not a U.S. citizen. It all could be done in global marketplaces, online secondary marketplaces, where you could trade these assets for other assets or fiat or Bitcoin or whatever your heart contends. And of course, if you securitize an asset and it's real estate, it's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week marketplace. You're not limited to when the building sells or the rents come in and they're distributed to the investors. You could trade your tokenized offering right away and benefit from that liquidity through these online marketplaces. Okay, but Mark, there must be some catch, right? Well, there are downsides to security tokens, but personally, I don't think they outweigh the benefits, not by a long shot, but I'm prudent and I want you to be fully knowledgeable about what the downsides are. So let's get started. One, if your smart contract has a security loophole, then it can be exploited. Now, if it's developed well, some of these things can be reversed and you'll be okay, but recognize that there could be security loopholes, just like in anything. So you have to have a smart company, like my company, Smart Blocks, that can help you put these things together, or you could get into a little bit of trouble or a lot of trouble, depending on who's doing the programming of it. Sometimes there's very complex licensing requirements because you need to be very smart about how these offerings are made. When you're issuing security tokens, you have to follow the law. And some of these things could be fuzzy and gray. So, my legal team makes sure that you get through these things unscathed and as protected as possible, especially as new regulations are coming out. We stay on top of these things. And then, of course, talking about regulatory environment, that is subject to change, and that's something else you got to take a look at. And we spend a lot of time studying it. The attorneys I work with study it and make it. It's just their livelihood. That's what they do. So we are your eyes and ears when it comes to that. And then, lastly, there could be a lot of tax complexities, especially if you're dealing with overseas investors that are buying tokens. Are you responsible? Are you not responsible for some of that? There really isn't a sound taxation system that's been set up globally or even in the United States for that matter. But again, something that we can help you with and at least mitigate to the extent it's possible, given these tax codes really haven't been well defined. So that's it. There's your first lesson on what I think is going to be next generation crypto. That's not the only thing. You got to stay tuned for the next episodes. I'm going to talk in depth about some of what I talked about today and introduce some other concepts that I think you're going to be interested in.